With Abdel Fattah Adeyemi, you unlock a world of wisdom, growth, and connection. It's time to live, love, learn, and build a better world together. Be inspired. Be motivated. Edit your universe.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This lecture of today is reaching you from the platform of Bainakum Family Counseling Center. That means it is powered by Bainakum Family Counseling Center. My name is Abdul Fattah Adeyemi, and the topic is our ever-changing world. That's the topic. Our ever-changing world. And that's to say, change has changed. We live in a time of liquid horizons. What was solid yesterday dissolves by morning. What seemed permanent is revealed as transient. The very ground beneath our feet feels less like soil and more like sand. It shifts with tides of data, with tides of innovation, disruption, and reinvention. And this is our ever-changing world. It's a reality that breathes not in seasons, but in seconds. It's a kaleidoscope that is turning faster than the eye can adjust. And we all know that change is no longer stranger to humanity. Rivers shift their courses, empires rise and fall, ideas bloom and fade, yet today, change has changed. Change itself has changed from what you know change to be, from what you expected change to be. Change has changed from there. The goalpost has been changed. The game has been changed. The rules have been changed. The game appears to have been rigged. But if you believe that it has been rigged, it means you did not know that the rules have actually been changed. So change itself has changed. It no longer arrives as a guest that is knocking politely at the door. It flows through the walls. Change, the pervasive ether of simultaneity, is a breakthrough in artificial intelligence in Silicon Valley. While that breakthrough is happening, it's at the same time simultaneously altering job markets in Mumbai overnight. A conflict in one hemisphere sends digital and economic shock waves through the other. A social media trend born at midnight becomes a global cultural moment by dawn. And the velocity is unprecedented. The interconnectivity is absolute. So we witness this in the dual engines of our age. Two things and two ways. Number one, technology, and number two, consciousness. Broadly, the changes happen in these two ways: technology and consciousness. As for technology, it accelerates not linearly, but exponentially. Each innovation breeds 10 more innovations. It shrinks distance, it collapses time, and generates vast new horizons. You hear of metaverses, quantum computations, bioengineered life. Everything is changing. Alongside, human consciousness expands, it contracts, and it transmutes. We are more aware of planetary suffering and cosmic wonders. We are even more exposed to diverse truth and corrosive falsehood. Before, we used to think truth is one. But now, when you say something is true, people want to ask you, what version of the truth are you talking about? And there's so much falsehood around, to the extent that some people have followed and perpetuated falsehood to the extent that falsehood is now the new truth. More connected we are, yet we are often more alone. The external and internal revolutions mirror each other. They create a feedback loop of perpetual alteration. Everything is in a flux. In such a world, the old maps no longer chart the territory. If you follow the GPS of this world, you'll be going north and it will take you south. Professions have dissolved into new hybrids. Knowledge acquired in youth becomes archaic by mid-career. If you are studying a course in the school, by the time you finish that course of study, it is no longer in the market. If you are writing a thesis or doing a research, by the time you complete the research, the result of that research has changed. It is as ridiculous as that. And so core beliefs are challenged every day. The pressure is to keep up. A frantic race where the finish line moves with every stride. Yet, to speak only of keeping up with the time is to accept a narrative of anxiety, of chasing a world that flees from us. The closer you thought you are getting to it, the farther it actually is from you. When you thought you have got a grasp of this time, then you suddenly realize that you have been chasing a mirage all this while. What you thought was the substance was actually a shadow. By the time you got there, the tape for the race has been shifted forward. Perhaps the deeper calling is not merely to catch up, but to catch deep. Yes. Don't even try to catch up because you can't. But what you should do is to catch deep, to find within the whirlwind a center of gravity that allows us not to just survive, but also to thrive. So let us look at some of the features of this our ever-changing world so that we can grasp it all as a whole. Number one, we have this exponential velocity. Change is no longer linear, but it accelerates on a curve. A technological or social breakthrough doesn't just add a new option, it also multiplies possibilities and obsoletes existing systems at a breathtaking pace. What took generations now to unfold, it is now unfolded in years or even months. You get to see that some of the researches people will spend years carrying out. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years to carry out a research. Nowadays, within 1 month, almost everything is already done and done with. Because what you took 5 years to research has actually changed. So there's this velocity. Everything moves with so much speed, and so much so that a year is now like a month. A month is now like a week. 1 week is now like a day, and 1 full day can be compressed into 1 hour. And this 1 hour you are talking about, within 1 minute is already done with. That is one of the features of this ever-changing world of ours. Number two, we have ubiquitous interconnection. What does that mean? It means through digital networks, through global supply chains, and through a real-time communication, the world operates as a tightly coupled system. An event in one sphere, maybe financial or ecological or political event, will trigger immediate and sometimes unforeseen ripple effects across the globe. This creates a reality of universal entanglement. We are all so interconnected that there seem to be no boundaries anymore. That is another feature of this world that we have now. Then number three, we have the democratization and fragmentation of truth, like I mentioned earlier on. Information is abundant and accessible, but authority over truth is dispersed. Yes, you can have your own truth, but you cannot impose it on others. While this empowers voices, it also leads to competing narratives. It leads to algorithmic echo chambers, and it results into a crisis of consensus on basic facts. It reshapes politics, it reshapes trust, and it alters community. Everybody has their own version of the truth. In every narrative, these narratives are competing with one another. So you can say you have your own voice. Yes, it remains your voice. You cannot impose your own voice on others. And this is this feature of this changing time that is so scary. You have conflicting news, conflicting narratives, and each of these narratives present themselves as facts. And sometimes they even produce proofs, to let you know that they have their own version of the fact. The problem is, where is the truth? And number 4 is similar to this one we just mentioned now, the blurring of realms. That is the boundaries between physical and digital, the boundaries between biological and technological, the boundary between human and machine are becoming porous. From augmented reality and bioengineering to AI collaboration, we are constructing hybrid realities that challenge our very definitions of life, our definitions of work, and our definitions of experience. What you thought you had experienced in reality has actually been blurred with so many technicalities that you cannot really decipher the boundary between what is physical and what is digital. And like I said, what is human and what is machine. We have these collaborations now. You don't know which aspect of it was done by a human being and which aspect of it was done by AI. The realms are so blurred now. We even thank God within our own time, we can say this one is fake or that one is deep fake and that one is what and what. But the generations to come, they will have so much difficulty, if not the impossibility, of deciphering between what is real and what is fake. In fact, some fakes are more real than what is real. And that is another, interesting and surprising, in fact, bewildering feature of these ever-changing times of ours. And number 5, the rise of the ephemeral. Permanence is declining. There's nothing like permanent job anymore. There's nothing like permanent trend anymore. There's nothing like permanent skills anymore. Even relationships can have shorter life cycles. There's hardly permanent marriages anymore. There's hardly anything like till death do us part. From the day of the marriage, the couples are already looking at the door for exit. Nothing is permanent anymore. This creates a culture of constant novelty, but also fuels anxiety and a fear of missing out. FOMO, FOMO, fear of missing out. What does this mean? It means a person will just get married. Let's take marriage for instance. And this person will begin to regret having chosen somebody, whereas there are countless number of other choices outside. And so all of the things the person will have done as a bachelor, he begins to regret them. And this FOMO, fear of missing out, will make him to go into adultery and so many other flippant things that people do nowadays. You want to catch fun. You want to do whatever you want. You want to travel as you want. You want to go wherever you want to go to. You don't want to miss out on the actions and the funs of life. Yet, you want to be committed to a relationship. You want to be committed to a goal in life. How are you going to navigate the difference between these two? How are you going to survive this paradox of stability and fluctuation? This challenges traditional models of career. There's nothing like this is my career or I'm doing this job so that I can progress from this level to that level to that level. That doesn't exist anymore. It has challenged the traditional model of loyalty to say, okay, together forever. There's nothing like that again. It is together so long as it is convenient and so long as I've not found another option. Allahu Akbar. And this has challenged the traditional model of identity that is built on long-term stability. That is another feature of this our ever-changing world. And number 6, there's simultaneous scale and personalization. Systems now operate at massive global scale while appearing deeply personalized. Let me explain. A platform can serve billions, yet it can curate an individual's feed, individual's news and marketplace uniquely. The algorithm serves billions of people, yet it can create something that is uniquely yours. They will have harvested your needs. They will have harvested and deciphered your preferences. In fact, it's as if they can read your emotions. And by so doing, they know what kind of advert you want. They know the kind of videos you want to watch, the kind of things you want to listen to, and they will feed your pages with things that you wonder, how did they know I wanted this? How did they know I needed this? That is the new world for you. This creates unprecedented convenience, but also profound questions about autonomy, about manipulation, and about the nature of the individual in the collective. You have actually lost your sense of individuality. You are only made to think that the algorithm knows you and the algorithm is serving you, whereas you are the one that is actually serving your algorithm without knowing anything about the workings and the machinations and the manipulations of the algorithm itself. That is another feature. And number 7, there's the primacy of adaptation over expertise. While deep expertise remains valuable, its shelf life is shrinking. You say, I'm an expert at so and so. After a while, you get to see that what you are an expert at has already been shifted. The premium is increasingly on adaptability, the meta skill of learning, the meta skill of unlearning, and the meta skill of pivoting. The ability to move around uncertainty often outweighs mastery of a static knowledge set. What you thought you knew, you don't know it anymore. And by the time somebody else is addressing the same topic you thought you were an expert at, then you begin to understand that you hardly know anything, and what you knew are things of the past already. It is so quick like that if you want to say, yes, this is my expertise, this is my skill, people will be like, is that all you actually know? We shall get there as we move ahead. I want to expatiate more on that skill set of a thing. But let's go to number 8 feature of the ever-changing world, the paradox of connection and isolation. We are more connected than ever in a digital sense. And you can see, we can talk to one another from wherever to wherever all over the world. Yet, this can coincide with rising loneliness. Have you ever heard of people who commit suicide because of loneliness, even though they have millions of subscribers and millions of followers on the social media? We also have this rising tribalism and fraying social fabric in the physical world. The nature of community itself is being renegotiated between online networks and place-based belonging. You see, you got followers out there in the digital world, but loneliness is still crushing your soul. You belong to a lot of online groups or communities, but you actually don't belong anywhere in reality. You don't belong to anyone, and you don't even own yourself. It is as bad as that. You can have the thousands of people on your groups. You can belong to so many communities online, but by the time you eventually succeeded in switching off your phone or putting your phone to rest at night, you are exactly on your own. And then you begin to cry to your pillows. And that is the paradox of this so-called connection that we thought we had and the isolation that happened to be our reality. Then number 9, there's heightened global consciousness and existential pressure. We are constantly aware of global crises such as climate change and pandemics, genocides, terrorism, inequality, and so on and so forth. This creates a shared sense of faith and urgency in the world. But this global consciousness brings moral weight, but also the psychological burden of what is called doom scrolling and crisis fatigue. Every day that you switch on something to listen to the news, you are going to have enough dosage of that crisis fatigue that you should have been running away from. You want to be aware of what is happening globally, but the news is not ready to give you any good news. Every news is a bad news of what is happening somewhere. You actually think you are being aware. You actually think you are being current. You actually think you are tech savvy, and as a result of that, you have access to information of what is happening globally. But together with that global consciousness comes the existential pressure. You feel as if the world is collapsing. You have got fear created in your heart. And at the end of it all, there's this disturbance in your soul, and you don't find any rest whatsoever. That is why they call it doom scrolling. You keep scrolling and you keep seeing more doom that comes your way. And number 10, there's continuous disruption as the new normal. This is another painful feature of our changing world. Disruption is no longer an occasional event between periods of stability. It is the continuous condition. Industries, social norms, and geopolitical orders exist in a state of perpetual reinvention. This makes resilience and anti-fragility to be key virtues for individuals and societies. In other words, there's no normal anymore. By the time you think something is normal and it should go the way it is going, these disruptions are so much supported by distractions. These features are not isolated. They interact in complex ways. They create the dynamic, daunting, and opportunity-rich landscape that we must learn to traverse. The central challenge is to build our inner stability and outer agility, precisely because the external world offers so little permanence. And that is why we say change is changing. Nothing is permanent anymore. Despite all of this, how then do we thrive in this flux of changing changes? And I want you to pay attention to this. How do we thrive in flux, and what kind of literacy do we require to be able to thrive as a people altogether? Number one, the literacy of adaptability. And when we say you have to adapt, this is not passive flexibility, it is resilient agility. The ability to learn, the ability to unlearn, and to relearn with intentional grace. It means treating curiosity as a discipline and humility as a strength. It is the understanding that mastery now is less about storing information and more about moving around streams of information. It means discerning signal from noise with a calibrated mind. You got to learn how to adapt. Number two way through which we can thrive in this flux of changing changes is the literacy of roots. What do I mean by this? In a world of endless becoming, we must know what we stand for. Where is your root? How deeply are you rooted? Our deepest values, our compassion, integrity, justice, all these are not outdated software. They are the operating system of our humanity. They provide the ballast when the winds of change blow fierce. To cultivate inner stability is not to resist change, but to engage with it from a place of principle, not panic. So the third literacy is the literacy of connection. Isolation is a peril of this age. Thriving requires conscious community, and that is building bridges across generations, across cultures and domains of knowledge. Look, no matter your age, you have to be able to relate with people of other generations. If you're of the Gen X, you have to know how to relate with Gen Zs. If you're of the Gen Z, you have to know how to relate and connect with Generation Alpha, and from Alpha to Beta. And whatever generation you belong to, whether the old ones or the young ones, you must know this is how to survive. You understand? This is how to thrive. You must know how to build bridges across these generations. Not only generations, different cultures. You don't have to remain stuck on your own cultures and cultural norms and beliefs alone. If you want to survive in these changes, you have to know how to bridge bridges across cultures and also across domains of knowledge. You don't just know one thing, you know many things. That's how to thrive. It is in diverse collaborations that we find the creativity to solve emergent problems. So we find the empathy to traverse moral complexities, and we find the collective wisdom to steward change toward humane ends. If you don't connect, you cannot solve any problem, because many problems, they go beyond a particular knowledge or a particular generation or a particular culture or a particular race. To solve the problem of the world now, you have to connect with almost everybody that comes your way, because while one person is holding the screw, another person is holding the screwdriver, and while one person is holding the nut, another person is holding the spanner. That is how this world works, and that's how this world ticks. You cannot do it all alone, you cannot survive it all alone, and you cannot thrive all alone. You got to understand and learn the literacy of connection with other people from all over the world and people around your community. And finally, how do we thrive in this flux of changing changes? You have to understand and learn the literacy of presence. The future hurtles towards us. The past tugs at our heels, but life is lived in the current moment. Amidst the digital torrent, the capacity to be fully present is a revolutionary act. That is, to listen deeply, to observe without immediate judgment, and to create space for reflection. It is in these pauses that we synthesize, that we imagine, and that we restore our souls. We must learn how to be present. We must learn to understand the power of now. We must learn to know the length and breadth of the moment. We want to know how long does this moment last. You got to understand that this is really happening. It is not a mirage. It's not a joke. It is real, and this is happening. If you understand the concept and the principle of this is happening, then you will learn how to stay and live in the moment. You will learn how to observe without immediate judgment. And if you can do this as a people, then we should be able to thrive in this modern day and age. Not to be taking one step forward and two steps backwards. Not to be driving forward and fixate our gaze on the mirror that looks at the back. If you want to thrive, you got to learn how to move on. You got to learn how to be present in the present. Now, this is for all of us. Let us now go to you as a person. Yes, you as an individual. You. How do you find your own personal space? How do you find your own personal place and purpose in these ever-changing changes that we have in our world today? The question of finding one's place and purpose in an ever-changing world is not a puzzle to be solved, but a song to be sung into the wind, knowing that the wind will change its key, but your voice remains essential. I want us to look at it in the following ways. if you want to find your own personal place and purpose in these changing changes. Number one, you are going to observe and experience the first and the great unfixing. We must unlearn the architecture of permanence. That's what I mean. There's nothing permanent anymore. Tradition, in its rigid form, told us that place is geographic, that's inherited, and that is static. That purpose is a fixed role. You know, you are a blacksmith, you are a teacher, you are a parent, you are a doctor, you are an engineer. They tell us that it is stable across a lifetime. That means you can be a teacher for the rest of your life. You can be a doctor for the rest of your life. You can be a civil servant for the rest of your life. No, that is traditional and that is outdated. The place is not a spot on a map anymore, but a confluence of relationships, of influences and opportunities that is itself fluid and that is not static. In other words, your place is more verb than noun. It is where you unplug and it is where you plug into the flow to give and to receive values. So place is no longer geographic anymore. Your place in life is no longer inherited. You can't say, okay, this is where I am. This is my place in life because that is where my father was. You can't say this is my place in life because that is where my ancestors were. No, place is no longer geographic. Place is no longer a spot on a map. Place is no longer a place that you can navigate by using GPS. Place is a conglomeration of the relationships that you have. It is deciphered by the number of people you are connected to. It can be understood by the number of influences you have and the number of people who have influence on you and by the influences you have on your environment. Your place is the opportunities that you have and opportunities you are able to garner for yourself and the opportunities you're able to recognize in your life. That is your place. Your place, like I said, is more of a verb than a noun. And what about your purpose? Yes, your purpose cannot be a single destination that is carved in stone because the terrain itself is reshaping. Instead, your purpose must become a direction, a true north of the heart. It is not what you are, like a fixed title. Oh, I'm a doctor. Oh, I have masters in so and so. I am a politician. I'm a business person. It is not what you are, but how you are and what you move toward amidst this flux. Do you want me to repeat that again? It is not what you are with the title people add to you. It is not even to say I'm Mr. or I'm Mrs., I am Madam, I'm a married man, I'm a husband. It is not about what you are. It's about how you are. How husband are you? How doctor are you? How of an engineer are you? And how a teacher are you? How an entrepreneur are you? It's not a matter of saying I'm the CEO, MD, the managing director, damaging director. It is not the title you attach to yourself anymore. Things have changed now. You can't say because you're a professor and then you stay at that. That is what people call you. But what this time demands is how professor are you? How you are and what you move towards amidst the flux of life. That is what can make you to find your own place and purpose in life. That is number one, the great unfixing. Stop fixating yourself on certain things that are just traditional and things that are over and done with. Stop being rigid. By all means, stop being rigid. I have seen a medical doctor that later graduated and improved himself and moved forward and further to becoming the CEO of a poultry farm. There's nothing wrong about that. I've seen an architect that later moved into transportation business. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I've also seen a teacher that later became a politician, an administrator. So what I'm trying to say is that your purpose is not fixed anymore the way it used to be, and your place is not something that is inherited anymore. You got to understand so that the changing changes will not eventually change you into what you never expected. Then number 2 way of finding your own place and purpose in these changing changes is to understand the 2 anchors and to anchor yourself within these 2 things. What are these 2 things? Your essence and your contribution. Now, what I said earlier on about the great unfixing will begin to make sense to you now. Essence and contribution. In the absence of external permanence, you mold yourself to these 2 internal varieties, or these 2 internal verities. Let me use that English. Anchor number 1, the essence. This is the weaver's eye, the irreducible qualities that you bring to every stitch, regardless of the pattern. And that is when you ask yourself, when am I most authentically alive? When am I most authentically myself? Allahu Akbar. If you are a counselor, you ask yourself, what am I if I'm not counseling? If you are a medical doctor, you ask yourself, what am I if I'm not treating a patient? If you are an architect, ask yourself, what am I if I'm not designing something? If you are an entrepreneur, ask yourself, what am I if I'm not selling anything? What is my essence? What makes me to be authentic? What am I if nobody needs me? What am I if I'm not a mother to somebody? What am I if I'm not a father to somebody? What am I if I'm not a wife, if I'm not a husband, if I'm not a friend to somebody, if I'm not a neighbor to somebody, if I'm not the CEO of my company? What exactly am I? What values are non-negotiable for me? What are my integrities? What is my compassion? What is my curiosity? What is my moral compass? What is my sense of justice? What quiet voice persists beneath the noise of expectations? Your essence is your spiritual fingerprint. In a world of changing rules, it is the one thing that does not and should not change. That is your place within yourself. And this is your place within yourself. What exactly is my essence? And the second anchor that will make you to know how to find yourself in these changing changes is your contribution. And this is the innate need to exchange, to nourish, and to connect. And you begin to ask yourself, given my essence and given the present needs of the world around me, what small vital nutrient can I provide to the network today? What can I contribute? Contribution is purpose made visible. It is adaptive, it is responsive, and sometimes it is humble. A teacher's essence might be illumination, but her contribution may shift from classroom to online forum to mentoring a neighbor to raising a conscious child. In other words, pay attention to these 2 anchors in your life if you want to find your own place and purpose. And that is the essence of who you are and what exactly are you contributing. If you are not contributing anything, it means you are absolutely not necessary. And if you are not necessary, you are going to be neglected. If you are neglected, you are going to be forgotten. And if you are forgotten, it's a proof that you are totally irrelevant in the life of yourself and the life of others. It's not enough for you to understand your essence. It's also important for you to know what exactly is your essence contributing to the world as we have it today. Number 3 way through which you can discover yourself and find your own place and purpose in this changing world is to understand the dynamic equation. This is also going to make you understand the 2 that I mentioned earlier on. place and purpose become a dynamic, moment by moment equation. In other words, the equation goes something like this: purpose equals to essence plus perceived need. In other words, essence plus perceived need equals to the purpose, where essence is your internal and constant way of being, the how and the why you are. Get it? Why are you here, and how are you going to live the life that you have chosen for yourself? The need changes constantly. Therefore, the expression of your purpose must be fluid. The need of the world is not static. That's what I'm trying to say. You may have your essence, you may have your purpose, but the need for you could change overnight. And when people see that they no longer need you, despite your robust purpose and essence, you are jettisoned and you are treated as an option, not as a choice. If your essence is healing, in one season, your purpose may be expressed as a nurse. In another, it may be expressed as a listener for a grieving friend. In another, it may come as an advocate for environmental justice. In another, it may come as a creator of restful spaces. Just as a nurse, you see that your need may change with the changing time, the changing environment, and the changing need that people have of you. You have not lost your purpose that way. You have transposed it into a new key, and that is vital. We must all understand this very well. You may be a producer of something. You may have a product. But as time goes on, what you produce may not serve the particular need of the people in your environment. You may have to shift. You may have to move. You may have to recast. You may have to redesign. You may have to redistribute if you want to remain relevant in this ever-changing world that we have now. Number 4 way through which you can find your purpose in these changing changes is to practice discernment. Yeah, you know what discernment is? You know, when you are able to decipher something. The discernment can come in form of your inward listening, regular silence, reflection. When you begin to ask the right questions, does this path, this role, or this action, does it align with my essence? Does it feel like an authentic expression of my core, or am I mimicking a pattern that belongs to another weaver? You got to listen to yourself inwardly. Do I actually fit where I find myself? Am I actually living the authentic life that I want to live? Or I'm just a pawn on another person's chess box? Am I living the essence of my life the way I want it to be? Or I'm just a tool in another person's hand? Am I part of a person's game? Am I just being used by other people? Or am I actually living the essence of my life? I need everybody to think very deeply about this. Because sometimes if you don't pause to listen to yourself, if you don't pause to ask yourself, if you don't pause to reflect on your life, yes, you have a purpose. Yes, you have an essence. Yes, you have an anchor. But are you not being used by somebody else? Are you not living your life like the photocopy of somebody else's life? Are you not living your life as if you are here to escort other people to their places of success? I'm not saying you cannot collaborate, but when you finally start feeling used at the end of it all, that means something is wrong. Your essence may be to better the lives of others by counseling them, by listening to them, and by rendering help and assistance, or offering your shoulders for them to cry, or offering yourself for them to lean on. But if you don't listen to yourself very, very attentively, you may not know that you are actually being used. These people will just use you and they will dump you. They come around you because of what they want to gain and benefit from you. Whereas, in your own view, you think you are being useful. Yes, you are being useful, but in reality, you are being used. And at the end of it all, you are going to be so used that you are going to be depleted and you are going to be exhausted, and you are not ever going to find a way to replenish yourself, because the people that you are serving are not there to replenish you, but they are there to utilize you. They are there to deplete you. So listen to yourself inwardly. If you want to survive in this changing time, have inward listening to yourself. Practice discernment. Am I fit to be here? Is this a place for me? Am I mimicking a pattern of somebody else, or am I an authentic expression of my core? Am I expressing myself the way I really am? Secondly, to the way of practicing discernment is outward looking, observing with detachment and compassion. You have to ask, where is the tension in the drapery? Where is there a tear that my thread could help mend? Where is there a lack of a certain color, that's compassion, truth, or practicality, that I embody? Where exactly am I needed? You have to ask yourself this question. Where exactly is the tear that I'm supposed to thread together? Where exactly is leaking that I'm supposed to mend? If you don't have this outward looking, then you will be leaping without looking, and then you jump into a hole that's not meant for you. And when some people want to kill you to make you to feel so bad and terrible about yourself, they let you know that you have just jumped into a shithole. Allahu Akbar. Then another way of practicing discernment is the action. Taking the next small conscious action that binds your essence to a perceived need. This is the enacted prayer of purpose. It may be a career shift. Yes, you have to take action. It may be a difficult conversation. Yes, you have to sit down and talk. It may be a creative project, something you have never tried before. And may be a silent act of solidarity. You have to take side with the people that are moving in the same direction as yours. This action thing, you have to take the action. If you don't take action, you will just be there philosophizing while the whole world is moving past you. And now, after the practice of discernment, there should be the liberation of fluidity. That's number 5. And herein lies the paradox and the liberation. Your place is found precisely in movement. It is in the conscious direction finding of the network. Your purpose is confirmed not in a lifelong title, but in the continuous alignment of your inner truth with outer action. You are not a piece meant to fit one slot in a static machine. You are not casted in steel and concrete. You are a unique quality of energy that is meant to flow through the living system that will bring it towards balance, towards beauty and coherence. The ever-changing world does not obscure your purpose. It demands its most agile and creative expression. So you ask, where is my place? Look to your connections. Feel where the web calls for your strength. And if you ask, where is my purpose? Then you listen to your essence. See where the world's need echoes your gift. See where your gift matches with the need of the world. And then take the shuttle, not to complete a final frozen movement, but for the love of the job of moving itself. Because in the end of it all, your place is at the loom. Your purpose is to weave well. And in that commitment to show up, awake and authentic, stitch by conscious stitch, you will find that you have always been home, and your life has always been meaning itself that is unfolding. You are not actually lost. You only need to listen to yourself. You are not actually lost. You only need to show up and stay awake and continue to be authentic with yourself. Now, let us wrap it up now. The unchanging earth in the changing storm. How can you be the unchanging, authentic self that you are in these changing changes of life? You see that we have moved through the metaphors of our age. We have talked about the endless game of life, and we have talked about the association on a shared quest, knowing where you are needed and knowing where you are not needed. We have seen where maps redraw themselves, where skills can transform overnight, and the very ground beneath our feet, what it feels like. It is no longer a solid rock, it's actually a quicksand. Our ever-changing world is not a problem to be solved. It is a reality to be inhabited, a vibrant, daunting, and ripe reality with potential. We will not thrive by trying to outrun it, nor by clinging to vanished shores, to outdated ideas. We will only thrive by learning to sail on restless waters, by moving around with the compass of enduring values, and by building arcs of solidarity, and by remembering to look up often at the stars that still guide us, this constant and the silent guidance of Almighty Allah, and the patient light that Allah has shown to us through His guidance. The change is ours to meet, not with fear, but with faithful courage, not with mere reaction, but with thoughtful co-creation. The world changes so that we can also. And in that mutual becoming, we may yet find our most human way forward, not as passengers on a runway train, but as conscious shapers of the journey together. Yet here, in the eye of these changing changes, we discover the most human of all truths, that the family is not a relic of a slower world. It is the original and most efficient technology for understanding uncertainty. While empires rise and fall, while economies pivot and technologies disrupt, the family unit performs its ancient, sacred, and utterly practical healing. It is the place where wisdom is shared. It is the safe server where characters log in to heal. It is the association hall where loot is divided and strategies are crafted for life. In a universe of changing changes, the family offers the only permanence that matters, and that's the permanence of belonging. If every other thing changes, the permanence of the family life remains. The world will change, whether we like it or not. It is its nature to change. Professions will evaporate. Cities will transform. Ideologies will clash and reform at the same time. But the parent's hand on a fevered brow, that, Allahu Akbar, that does not change at all. The love of a mother, the care of a father, the sense of responsibility of parents, and the sense of duty and respect of the children, this will never change. If every other principle in life changes, the principle of love, of care, of mercy will never change. The respect, the value, and the treasure of your parents will never change. The inside joke across a dinner table that sparks irrepressible laughter will never change. That does not change. The silent understanding between partners who have weathered 1,000 small storms, that does not change. Therefore, our final anchor is not in resisting the change in these changing changes of life, but in tending the fireplace, in treasuring and attending to family life. Our highest purpose in this ever-changing world is not merely to adapt as individuals, but to build families that are sanctuaries of adaptive love, to create homes that are not fortresses against the future, but launch pads for the future, where children learn their play style before facing the game, where partners synergize their skill trees to face each new quest. Let us go forth. If every other thing changes, love will not change. So let us go forth. If every other thing changes, compassion and humanity will not change. So then, let us go forth not in fear of the storm, but with a renewed mission. Let us build our association strong. Let us build our families strong. Let us love fiercely with more intentions. Let our fireplaces burn bright with unconditional belonging. Let our marriages and our love lives burn with unconditionality. Let us teach the next generation not just to survive the waves, but to move around them with courage, to read the maps of divine guidance, and to always know the coordinates of home, to always know how to find our ways back home. Wherever the winds of life drives you into, wherever the oceans of life drifts you into, don't forget that you must always hold on to your coordinates back home. The family is the greatest. The family is the most important. Don't forget, the greatest legacy we can weave into this endless, beautiful, terrifying, and magnificent changing world is a love that does not change. And in that unchanging love, we find our place, we find our purpose, and we find our peace. My name is Abdul Fattah Adeyemi. Thank you very much indeed. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Welcome to a place where we celebrate your greatness and nurture your path to even greater accomplishments. Acquire Abdul Fattah Adeyemi's soul-lifting handmade masterpieces and experience the divine beauty of Islamic artistry. Join the community. Transform your life. Edit your universe.